Welcome to the show, 5-Stripe fam. I'm AJ. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. Welcome to another episode of 5-Stripe Weekly, and Atl Utd, they got the favor returned to them, and we got smacked up away at lower.com field, and it was the international break, but Atl Utd played anyway. Columbus Crew got us 6-1. They scored early, they scored often, and we were thoroughly embarrassed, unfortunately, in our worst loss in franchise history. So, yeah, I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible because, we lamented on Saturday night after the match on the live post-match fan reactions. But, we'll recap what happens and how we can maybe prevent this from happening in the future. But, Atl Utd, we went to Ohio, lower.com field, Columbus Crew, they were missing a lot of players as well, but they had Darlington Nagbe, and they had a lot of young players that scored for the first time in their careers. And, really, really glad for them that we were able to, make them have a very memorable night at home. But, yes, it actually, forecast was a little bit where it was supposed to be rainy, but it ended up being rain-free, and instead it just rained goals onto Brad Guzan. But, we lost our first match of the 2023 campaign. Our unbeaten streak was ended. But in that starting 11, we had a lot of new faces, including Noah Cobb making his MLS debut. But, of course, 7 first-team players were away on international duty, and we played this match for the condensing of the schedule later on in the season that we did not want, essentially. So in this, we sacrificed probably a match in which maybe was winnable with all the players that were in tow if we were all healthy and they were all not on international break, or international duty rather. But of course, Almada, Robinson, Yakumakis, Santiago Sosa, and then inside that, Santiago Sosa came in for Almada, Cobb came in for Robinson, and Miguel Berry into the striker position. But it was a little bit of back and forth in the first few minutes, but 14 minutes after it was in the 14th minute, it was Alexandru Matan. They got into the center of our box, and the ball popped up, and it was Aiden Morris who beat Guzan to it and scored on a header from close range, and it was his first MLS career goal. 1-0, and then that's kind of pretty much how the floodgates pretty much started to open. We were able to keep them out of our goal for another chance a few minutes later, but it was a little bit of some sloppy play, and in the final minutes, it was not pretty in that time frame. But as well, Andrew Gutman, he left the match after going down on the pitch. We'll get into his injury later, but Tyler Wolff, he entered in the 45th minute, and Caleb Wiley, of course, went further back as the left fullback. But it was we pretty much did not have a shot in the first half, but that's when Columbus Crew, they extended their lead, and that's really when it got very, very ugly. But yeah, in terms of that second half, yeah, they found their second goal of the night. Matan, he played a ball into space toward the left corner, and Russell Rowe, yeah, he ran onto it and crossed into the box. And Christian Ramirez, who scored a brace in this match, he put a one-touch shot out of Guzan's reach, and it's 2-0 Columbus. But yeah, more goals. Columbus stretched their lead. It was 6-6 defender Philip Quinton. He put another header on frame, and there's just very, very shoddy defending. It's very much, it seems, pretty much like a training ground exercise for Columbus Crew in this match. We ball watching, not figuring out where to be, and a lot of lost markers, and we essentially, yeah, I mean, another first goal for a Columbus Crew player, and then that's when Ramirez, after that, scored his brace, and yeah, another goal by Russell Rowe, yeah, 5-0, but yeah, we were, we had to make some substitutions. It was already very ugly, but Eric Lopez, he made his first appearance since pretty much for over a year. Of course, he was on loan last season, but yeah, he came on for Amar Sejdic. We tried to get something going, but yeah, we were able to get one back in the 71st minute. Wiley crossed the ball, and yeah, that cross was deflected, and there was a scramble for a 50-50 ball. And Brooks Lennon, he was able to drive a low shot with his right foot into the far left post, and that's his first of the season, and it became 5-1. Now, Johnny Fortune and Matteo Sosetu, they entered the match. Sosetu returned from his injury 73rd minute, and yeah, it was for Sosa and Miguel Berry, and essentially, yeah, I mean, it, you know, Eric Lopez up top, he didn't really muster too much of a threat after that, unfortunately, and yeah, we were able to kind of, you know, maybe stave off a little bit of their attack, but in the 91st minute, they capped off the scoring with another goal. It was 6-1, and yeah, it's that's where the scoreline finally mercifully ended. You know, I don't have the stats on the very worst score lines after this one, but all we know is definitely this is by far the worst of them all. And I guess if we can take consolation in that, it comes on the heels of not having really a lot of our first team players, and where, yeah, us getting embarrassed like this, at least we were undefeated going into this match. So it's as much maybe writing off this performance and result as anything else, but also knowing how shallow that depth actually is. And it's pretty apparent when yeah, a Columbus Crew side that's really not that high in the standings but has a good coach, we got out-tacticked. We essentially tried to play the same way that we do with all the same players in the squad. And yeah, I probably would have liked to see a little bit more sitting, especially away from home. This was not the match to try to do too much with the ball, as we saw. Yeah, it was pretty anemic. It pretty much, a lot of the players looked lost. Juanjo Parata as well. Some very, very questionable balls that for that, I believe it was for Christian Ramirez's goal. Yeah, just very, very sloppy giveaway, and then a ill-advised slide tackle, and yeah, you know, just pretty much hanging the rest of his defense out to dry, unfortunately. And yeah, fortunately as well, though, we will have Thiago Almada back for the next match. But yes, this one, 6-1 to the Columbus Crew. And really, the less said about this match, the better. But yes, the Five Stripes will play at home against the New York Red Bulls, and I will have that match preview later on for you in this episode. But let's get into the news. And Thiago Almada, he has won the MLS Player of the Month. And what a month he had, 4 goals and 4 assists. And he wasn't even playing in this last match, but he does get the MLS Player of the Month. Unstoppable, man. And yes, very, very well deserved. He is also up there in the early MLS MVP rankings. And I mean, of course, but also in the press, Gonzalo Pineda mentioned that Almada is back in training, or at least at the training ground. This was on Thursday, and he'll do a regen session after coming back from his not only kind of victory tour with Argentina, but yeah, definitely a lot of celebrations still. But yeah, and he will train on Friday. But as well, you will also see that, yeah, Miles Robinson, he's good to go. And as well, that, yeah, many of the other first-team players have come back, Yorgos Giacomakis included as well. But one person that will be on the sidelines for at least week to week, apparently, the dreaded week to week, yes, he suffered an adductor injury. That's kind of pretty much near the groin. Yeah, that, of course, was suffered in the Crew match. And as we know as well, George Bello suffered an adductor injury way back when. And Ezequiel Barco, of course, was week to week for an indefinite amount of time. But another player that's, yeah, might be back pretty soon, though, is Ozzy Alonso. He was doing a lot of sprints and quick movement drills on Wednesday, apparently. That's according to Doug Roberson. And yeah, he has pontificated that he could see him rejoin the team next week or the week after. But yeah, so Miles Robinson, he finally returned to the U.S. men's national team. And he said, quote, after his start, "It was definitely tough at some moments, more mentally than physically. I think the first few months when you can't really walk is definitely tough. And then towards the end when I could get on the field, but watching the World Cup was also pretty tough. I just use it as motivation at this point. I'm so grateful to be back out here with this team." And congrats to Miles Robinson. What an inspiration. I mean, just didn't miss a beat. And really, he's looked just as good, if not a little bit better than he was before the injury. So very much kudos to Miles Robinson for working so hard on his recovery. But moving on to the last bit of news, but Atl Utd, they played their debut in the MLS Next Pro League. They fell 3-2, unfortunately, in the season opener against New England Revolution 2. And yes, Raymar and Nicholas Firmino scored in the second half, but the comeback fell short. Yeah, Tyler Young and Kareem Tonini made their professional debuts. And yes, Atl Utd, they return to action when they host also the New York Red Bulls 2 on Sunday. So yeah, it will be pretty much a doubleheader of Atlanta United versus New York Red Bulls. So speaking of, let's get into our match preview. And Atlanta United will be playing the New York Red Bulls at 7:30 at the Benz. New York Red Bulls are 11th in the Eastern Conference this season. 3 draws, 1 win, and that 1 win, of course, was against the Columbus Crew. 2-1, of course, that's full strength, but that maybe is a little bit ominous. Of course, I think they were at home, but still, yeah, it is. Yeah, if we go by that math, right, Columbus Crew beat us and New York Red Bulls beat them, well, then they should be beating us, right? Well, hopefully that's not the case. But in terms of this squad, we know that, they're young, they press very, very well, and they kept most of the team together this off season. And they also spent this offseason Dante Van Zier, kind of that high-end talent that makes a difference in the final third. They, are going to be pretty, I think, still the same type of team that gives us fits. But, they are a little bit shallow in depth. But, it will remain to be seen in terms of their defense, who's going to step up, because key departures from last season, Aaron Long, the stalwart in their central defense, also a one-time MLS Defender of the Year, he left to go to LAFC, and of course as well Patrick Klamala, he left them as well. But yes, the aforementioned Van Zier, he is their new star in attack. Corey Burke as well comes over from the Philadelphia Union, who, off the bench for them last season, contributed 7 goals and 5 assists. So definitely someone to watch out for coming off their bench as well. Peter Stroud as well. One of their homegrown signings, but he's a pretty tasty prospect for them. So it will be someone that will be someone to look out for as well. But the predictions from around league pundits, they have them finishing as high as first. Of course, that's Bradley Wright Phillips. So, that's, of course, a former player of theirs. That's biased as they come. And as low as 9th. So, a pretty large fluctuation, although many of them have them finishing in playoff spots. So, it will be pretty interesting to see how they get on. But, last season, they were 4th in the East. And, they went out in the round 1 of the Eastern Conference MLS Cup playoffs. But on to our unavailable players. And Ozzy Alonso, of course, will be the unavailable player there. There is a question about Luis Abram and Machop Chol, if they can return in time. But they probably should be able to get back at least one day before the match and maybe play a part from the bench. But that gets us to our predicted starting 11. Do you guys think that Mateo Sosetu gets his place back? We'll find out here. But Braguzan for me starts, of course, between the sticks. Brooks Lennon, Miles Robinson returns, Juanjo Porrata, and it will be Caleb Wiley on that left back side. And in midfield, Franco Ibarra and Sejdic persist for me in those two spots. Luis Araujo and Thiago Almada return to their customary spots. And I think Derek Etienne gets his first start on the left wing. You can see that most of the time these things work themselves out. There was, of course, a bit of the competition between Wiley and Etienne Jr., but now I think, of course, it just makes sense. And, you have the cover at the fullback positions from Ronald Hernandez and maybe Aiden McFadden if necessary. But up top, Yorgos Yakimakis, of course, returns to the striker position. But what do you guys think? Obviously, with all these first-team players back, it's a lot more exciting of a side. And, I think it will be very interesting to, see Derek Etienne and Caleb Wiley play together. But, that gets us to our score prediction. And, unfortunately, I don't think that the New York Red Bulls... that little voodoo that they have, or hoodoo that they have over us, gets lifted. I still think it's a 1-1 draw. We don't get the win against them in the regular season, but hopefully later on in this year we can make that happen. as yeah, we have a lot of guys coming back into the side. It will be a little bit difficult, I think, to get that rhythm back as quickly maybe as we have had it in the other matches. But that pretty much does it for the match preview and the entire episode, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, besides Almada, who is Atlanta United's most important player? Let us know in the comments below. Really curious what you have to say. But guys, that is it for us today. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. I've been AJ. Remember to do all that stuff. We love you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.